All right, Big Al, we are back this Thursday. You had to fly from the West Coast to the East Coast to go see your Spurs. Costi, all he has to do is hop in the car, skedaddle downtown to watch the Baltimore Ravens against the Bengals this Thursday evening. We'll get to that game as a complimentary selection in a minute. But I want to talk about one thing we talked about on yesterday's video, which is how did look, you can hold up the magazine. You're known for your database in ESPN, featured in ESPN over a decade ago, one of three people in the world that have access to this. You've been offered $1 million for the database. You have declined. You're a numbers guy. What a client reached out to me after watching yesterday's video and said, what about somebody that was martingaling the Milwaukee Bucks on an 0-9 run? So the actual question is, being that you're a math guy, how did martingaling become so popular? Because I've been doing this for 35 years and I can tell you story after story. It's like Led Zeppelin, the song remains the same. Every guy calls me with the same story. I originally started with $200. I doubled it and then I tripled it. I couldn't believe it. I took it
Yeah.
to 50, 60, 80,000. And then of course they're calling me now before they're back down to the 200.
Yeah, you know where I think also the one sport where it really is popular is baseball because people would say, "Oh, the New York Yankees won't get swept,"
Right.
right?
3 game
And
series,
so,
4 game series.
right. So they will bet on the Yankees in game one. If they lose, they double up game two, then quadruple up game three, etc. And what people have to understand is that all teams, even the best teams, like the Dodgers, the one year they won the World Series, at one point in that year they lost 9 games in a row.
Right.
People have to understand that you can go 105 and 57 in baseball and still have within that 162 game schedule a 7 game losing streak. And it's just the randomness and the variance, of sports. And we see it now, with the Milwaukee Bucks, as we talked about on yesterday's show. They're one of the better teams in basketball. They've also gone, when going into that game, they were 0-9-1 ATS. They had been on a 9 game ATS losing streak. So if you were betting a unit on Milwaukee, then in that game number 10, you have to bet, 1,024 to get back, the 512 units that you were down. I
And
mean,
let's not even talk about baseball, because if you were
oh,
doing
then
that
it's
on the
money line
Dodgers,
odds. Yeah.
yeah, if you're doing that on the Dodgers, you're laying crazy odds. So it's even
But
extra.
but your but your question is why? Like, why do
Why?
people? And the reason is, I think people think there's an easy path to riches in gambling. That's the simplest way they could do it. Oh, I could just double up until I win. But as people who go to Las Vegas and play roulette will tell you, you can't. You can't just keep betting on red every time and hope that it will eventually come up, because when that black, hits 10 times in a row, you're bankrupt
Or the
because
double
you
zero
can't you
zero,
can't go into your
or
pocket.
the green, the green.
Sure, of course, yeah, of
Right.
course, yeah.
I mean, I've
It's
seen guys literally walk up to the table, play it all on black or red. They're okay if it's black, if it's the opposite color, and then they get hit with the zero or the double zero.
right.
So that's really sticking it to you.
And then the cojones you have to have, because if you're trying to make, for example, $1, and now you have to go into your pocket to put $1,024 to make the $1. And now you're saying, like, this is like, at some point you cry uncle, because you just
Right.
you know
So
and,
let's get
and
so let's talk about who Big Al's all access is for. It's for the high roller that's betting a dime a unit, not a dime a game. In October, you made 99 units, a dime per unit player, 1 units to 10 units on a grading scale, made $99,000. You got to be a high roller. This is not for everybody. Again, this is for people that are high rollers, just like the people you post tickets on Twitter that send you and go, you're God, thank you, Big Al, and they're betting 50, 100,000 a game, driving from, into Las Vegas just to bet your biggest play on the board. Because while you are a high volume player, not everybody wants to bet every game. They want that big game. A few weeks ago, you had 5 10 unit plays out of, let's say, 30 games the entire weekend, and you went 5-0 on those 10 unit plays. So, that big player might just want to key in on those 10 unit plays.
that's right. And for the guys who want to bet all the games, as I bet all the games, you have to
Right.
have the ability. If I've got a 10 unit play and a 1 unit play, you have to have the ability to go 10x on
Right.
that one play. So
And not bet the 1 unit play because you really love it 10x. I've gotten those phone calls too, Al, where you have a 1 unit play and the guy's going to the game because he's a fan and he just arbitrarily makes it a 10 unit play and it wins. And I go, well, it worked till it doesn't work. So stick to the unit rating system.
That's known as handicapping the handicapper.
Handicapping the handicapper. So let's talk about tonight's game. Costi's is going to be attending the game. Obviously, my son was not happy last week. We were doing I have an 18-year-old Raven freak fan. I was getting when they were up big, Lamar's amazing, Lamarvelous, blah, blah, blah. And then, in the second half, Dad, are you watching? Dad, can you believe this? Dad, I can't believe this. Dad, did you know that they were the only time they were losing the game was zero point 0.0 seconds left on the clock the entire game? I mean, my son was like tripping out, right? As a fan, which I love because it's pure, it has nothing to do with gambling. But what do you do emotionally coming off a collapse like that where they're at home and it's a short week and now they're at home on national television and they let the Browns come in and just take them to the cleaners at the end of the game because they literally were winning the entire game?
Yeah, well, I mean, not as bad, but I mean, Cincinnati also coming off an upset loss. So, both teams are looking to get a little bit of redemption in this game. It's going to be a great game. I'm actually going to look at the total in this game, Eric. It's set at 46. And I think it bodes well for a low scoring game. It's a competitively priced NFL division game. And it's also between two teams with 500 or better records. And when you get those kind of games, a competitively priced NFL division game with a point spread less than 5 points between two really good teams, and if the over-under line is more than 46, these games generally go under the total. They've gone under the total 59.8% going back to 1980. The record's 112 and 75. So I think that bodes well for a real low-scoring game here. Also, you just take a look at the team trends. Cincinnati Bengals are now 19-6 under when installed as an underdog or pick. Baltimore 25-10 under when favored, including 9-2 under in division games. So I like the under here, Eric. I think it's going to be a real low scoring, hard fought. I mean, obviously it's a huge game. You've got the best division in football, all four teams, over 500. Cincinnati, 1.5 games behind the Ravens. It's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, hard-fought game. We're going to take the under.
There you go. We're going to take the under, unlike in NBA where it seems like almost every game goes over and it's 240 or higher. But that's a subject for another day. If you want to get access to Big Al's plays, like I said, his High Roller Club, his All Access Club, it's not for everybody. Again, 775-636-7676. Just reach out to me. We'll get you set up. And again, once you're a member, if you need to deal with Al direct, you want to text him, you want to ask him any questions regarding the games you're attending, the games you're an alumni of, the games you're a fan of, by all means, his door is open because the guy literally does not sleep. I sleep. He does not sleep. Anything else to say, Al?
So true. So true. Plead guilty.
All right, there you go, guys. Good day and good luck. We'll be back with another complimentary selection tomorrow.